Rudy,
Yes, sir.
this past weekend, the 49ers got embarrassed by a football franchise that doesn't even have an official name. I don't know about you, but I can't even think of a business in San Francisco that could even garner a margin of success without an official name. Can you think of any business that could do that?
I can't, but I wonder what the world of San Francisco would look like if we followed this pattern of naming. So it'd probably be something like this. There'd be the San Francisco professional pickers up of sanitation, the San Francisco professional upholders of the law, the San Francisco professional creators of alcoholic drinks. Can you think of any? What are some ones you could think of?
Probably something along like the San Francisco Professional Couriers of Mail, the San Francisco Professional Third-Party Chauffeurs, the San Francisco Professional Couriers of Mails via bike.
Yes. We would be called the San Francisco Professional Football Podcast. There would be the San Francisco Fighters of Fire. There would be the San Francisco Professional.
This is the GoldCast.
Boom! Welcome to another edition of the GoldCast. We are the voice of the Bay. I'm your host, Rudy Solis III, and with me is my brother, my co-host,
Raymond Solis the first, baby.
Boom! Man, Raymond, I wish the episode we were about to report on was as exciting as that intro. Man, Raymond, I predicted a score of 24-21. I believe that's what I did in favor of the Washington professional football team. And unfortunately, I was more right. The San Francisco professional football team lost, the final score being 23-15. Alex Smith, a decent showing. We took him out, was led by Dwayne Haskins. Nick Mullins did Nick Mullins things. He was 25 for 45, 260 yards.
Yeah, by that we don't mean good things.
Yeah, we don't mean good things. You know what? Here's the thing. We love Nick Mullins. I love the drive. I love the fight. I'm not really sure what the difference is. I know that his offensive line is not giving him any help. 4 sacks. 4 sacks. Any team that's averaging 4 sacks in a game is going to be in a tough situation, Raymond. This was another brutal game. Deebo Samuel again goes down. We're kind of relying solely on Brandon Ayuk. If you have him in fantasy like I do, what a monster he has been. But boy, this team, I said this last week, and I was actually, you know, it's funny. I was listening to Greg Papa this week. He was talking on his show. I was listening to his podcast. I'm not going to promote it here. We don't promote anyone else's podcast, even Greg Papa's. So I was listening to Greg Papa, and Greg Papa was saying that the Niners were actually so sore on Wednesday that the walkthrough was pretty rough because they were physically so beat up from the previous week. But listen, you know what, man? Everyone's sore right now. It's the end of the season. Everyone's bodies are breaking down. Not that I'm saying that's excuse. I'm just saying that I had a feeling that the Niners were going to continue this, what I feel is the beginning of an unraveling, a season that I think maybe they're starting to lose faith in themselves as a team and faith in their quarterback. And I just think this is a team that is kind of heading to the end very quickly. And it's a real bummer. And that's what I was afraid of. And so far, 2 weeks in a row, I was proven right. I want to pass off the mic to you, Raymond. Where do you stand with this current squad after this game that we man, we just didn't do anything right in this game?
Well, the 49ers, I mean, my prediction was wrong. Samsonite, I was way off.
What's that from again?
That's from Dumb and Dumber.
Yes.
The brand name of the suitcase is Samsonite, and he thinks it's the name of the woman who he thought left it at the airport, the Mary Swanson or whatever. He's like, oh, Samsonite. I was way off. That's her name. But the Niners, unfortunately, the way that they're losing these games is not even remotely as amusing as the film Dumb and Dumber. Nick Mullins just, you talk about quarterbacks and their ability to handle pressure. In today's league, the pocket passer is the odd quarterback style out, because traditional pass rushes like the gold rush of 2019 and any other formidable pass rush that we faced, just like the one we faced this past weekend in Washington, who had double the amount of sacks that we did, including 12 quarterback hits, that's not good for your traditional sit in the pocket, drop back quarterback like a Jimmy Garoppolo, like a Nick Mullins. CJ Beathard is actually the most mobile out of all three of these guys. But unless you are a Kyler Murray who can get out of the pocket in a flash, a Josh Allen who loves to roll out and is even more dangerous throwing outside the pocket, Russell Wilson, another one who's been doing it for years before it even became in vogue, Lamar Jackson, who climbed his team back to victory tonight. These are all starters. Patrick Mahomes, another one who likes to sit in the pocket, but is selectively and wisely mobile when he needs to be, to get out of trouble, to extend plays, to fake a run, to pull the defense into him before jamming the ball downfield with his rocket arm. I mean, these are all top-tier quarterbacks. Even Taysom Hill, who's starting in the stead of Drew Brees right now, he's very mobile and can get himself out of jams with his legs. So this is the new league. If you're not that kind of quarterback, it's going to be tough sledging unless you can get the ball. Unless you're Ben Roethlisberger, who leads the NFL in, from snap to pass. He has the fastest ball release in the league right now. I don't mean like release like the actual motion of releasing, but I mean releasing from snapping the ball, getting the ball in his hands from the center, to throwing it to his receiver, to whoever his read might be. I believe it's 2.2 seconds, 2.22 seconds, something like that. It's the fastest in the league. That is one of the few and best antidotes you can have if you're not a mobile quarterback. And we don't have that right now because we don't have an offensive line that can protect that long, and we don't have quarterbacks that can extend plays to give us a chance to extend drives, extend a series, score points. It's just not there. The offensive line is not complimenting Nick Mullins, and Nick Mullins is not complimenting the offense. He's giving up the ball. He's giving up the ball as badly as CJ Beathard did a couple years ago, and as badly as Jimmy Garoppolo does when Jimmy Garoppolo is not playing 100%. So I don't know. Brandon Ayuk, amazing player, terrific fantasy player. You look at his stats: over 20 points the last 6 weeks, with the exception of the 2 weeks he didn't play, which I believe are COVID related. So this is just embarrassing to me. The defense is still playing terrific football, quality football, despite the insurmountable odds that bestow them on a weekly basis. We thought we were going to get Kawan Williams back. That didn't happen. He got set back. Hopefully he comes back this week. There is a silver lining, which we'll get to later in the show, that might come this week. So, some more reinforcements. But overall, just a disappointing game offensively. Defensively, I really liked what I saw for the most part, but offensively, it was just, they looked sluggish. They looked flat. They were undisciplined. They look like a team that is just completely uncomfortable in their own skin right now, offensively speaking. And it's just really sad to see. We're going to have, at this current rate, we're going to probably we're on pace to have a top 10 pick in the draft, which is not where I wanted to be in 2020. I wanted to be in a revenge Super Bowl journey, and that's not what we've gotten.
It's really frustrating because when I look across the landscape of the NFC and you look at the top tier teams in the NFC, every one of the top from teams 1 through 5, I feel like any one of them can go to the Super Bowl or lose in the first round. I really don't know. There's not a single team. I know the Rams have the number 1 defense right now in the league, but the Rams, they don't look to none of these teams, the Saints, the Rams, the Seahawks, none of these teams look like, to me, the runaway favorite. In AFC, you've got the Chiefs, clear and above, ahead of everyone else. You got the Browns, you got the Bills, and then you got Pittsburgh, who we're not quite sure what's happening with Pittsburgh. They might be unraveling for real. A lot of injuries on defense, and you're really seeing it come up right now. But you've got those 4 teams, with the Chiefs being the clear-cut favorite. But those teams all look pretty solid. But we still believe the Chiefs are probably going to go. In the NFC, it's like they're all Browns and Bills, where you're like, well, I mean, these guys could go to the NFC Championship, but they could all be done by the wild. Any one of these guys can lose in the wild card or can make it to the NFC Championship. Any one of these teams. There's no clear-cut favorite. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because if the San Francisco was fully healthy with everybody on this squad, I have no reason to believe that we would not be the runaway clear-cut favorite in this conference. Because what we've been able to do with so little is great. Now, let's take a look at this. You talked about a top 10 pick in the draft. I'm glad you said this. Because the only silver lining is the possibility to get one of these quarterbacks that they're looking at. And, obviously the 49ers have a lot of interest in Zach Wilson. I do not watch college football, but I do know that Adam Peters are one of our VPs in the front office there. If him, John Lynch, and Shanahan say Zach Wilson is our new backup, he's the guy, then he's the guy. So I'm with it. And a great backup, and I'd love for him to sit behind Jimmy G for a year, and then we see what's what. So that's probably the only silver lining that's going to come out of this, is possibly we get our quarterback of the future. Now, Raymond, I want to go through a list with you. I'm pulling this list up. This is the list of all the free agents at the end of this season, and it's worth noting because we've heard Richard Sherman's been in the news a lot, I think, prepping his free agency tour about how he's not coming back or he's not going to be able to come back. I think he's kind of testing the Niners, but then also, advertising for the rest of the league.
Right, and he's going to be probably one of a dozen players gone.
Yep. Trent Williams, free agent. Richard Sherman, free agent. Solomon Thomas. Jaquiski Tart. Kyle Juszczyk. Tevin Coleman. Kendrick Bourne. Kiko Alonso. Kwan Williams. Ronald Blair. Ben Garland. Kerry Hyder. Ezekiel Ansah. And that's it. How do you feel when you hear that list of guys that are free agents?
Well, I mean, I guess Richard Sherman was embellishing because he said there was going to be like 30 or 40 guys.
That's still that's a big chunk of dudes.
It's still a big. So Trent Williams he's going to be on a priority list to sign. Kyle Juszczyk is the best fullback in football. He's a pivotal cog in the Kyle Shanahan offense. I really don't see the Niners letting him go. That would be a monumental mistake in my opinion. And he's due for a raise because he's been to a Pro Bowl ever since we got him. So he has lived up to his contract and surpassed expectations. So kudos to him. It's not every team has that luxury. Kiko Alonso, he's gone. He was a rental that didn't even make the team. He's not even on the roster right now, so that's an easy one. Solomon Thomas, good chance we let him go because he hasn't done much, which is unfortunate because he was a number 3 overall pick. Kendrick Bourne might be the odd man out with the wide receivers we're going to get back next year. Who knows? There's no guarantee Jalen Hurd's going to be healthy.
I even forgot we had Jalen Hurd until you said it. I completely
forgot
we had Jalen Hurd.
Trent Taylor's been injured. He hasn't been himself. Hopefully he overcomes the back injury and is able to kind of, resemble what we saw in flashes in his rookie season before he hurt his back. So Kendrick Bourne's kind of a wild card. He's out of everyone's been injured. He's been one of the few constants that's been able to stay healthy. He's just not really a dynamic, outstanding wide receiver. He's just a good supportive role kind of receiver.
He's a wide receiver 3 at best.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I was like, he's definitely not a 2. He's not a John Taylor. He's not a Dwight Clark. He's just not that kind of guy. He's whatever tier below that. He's not even a Freddie Solomon. He's not that kind of guy.
R.I.P. Freddie Solomon. He was the man.
He was the man. The number 1 before Rice. So some of those guys got to get signed. You got to sign Kyle Juszczyk. You got to sign Trent Williams. Defensively, Jaquaski Tartt, I don't know. I mean, do you take your chances and just jettison him? Because he's got a health issue too. You know, he's somebody that's questionable to receive a raise. He might get a raise somewhere else because when he was marginally healthier, he helped us get to a Super Bowl last year. But he's just not a healthy guy. A Trent Baalke pick, great talent, just not a healthy guy. So I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if he left. You know who is going to leave, though, is D Ford to free up money so we can re-sign some of these guys. D Ford is absolutely on the chopping block. He will go. We've talked about this before. We've looked at the money situation with him. His health, he hasn't lived up to the deal that we made in order to get him here. So to me, it's the next logical step. We already got rid of Quan Alexander because we saw that was some loose change that, better, there was more value in trading him than keeping him on the roster, having him play the way he was. And, kudos to him. He's playing a little bit better in New Orleans. But he's also playing on a top-tier defense, so his supporting cast is a lot better. It's easy. It's a lot easier to play good when plays around you are good. It makes your job easier, and which then gets reflected in your performance. So I don't know. This is Kerry Hyder. He's a 1-year rental. You can re-sign him.
I feel like we got to re-sign Kerry Hyder. You got
to sign him.
He's done excellent. He's
probably going to end up with double-digit sacks before the end of the year is done. And best season since his rookie campaign. So you got to bring him back. You need him to complement the return of Nick Bosa, because then that'll really give us a leg up in pass rushing ability, especially since Eric Armstead seems to do much better when players around him are better versus carrying the load, which is what he's been doing and not doing a very good job of it.
Can you imagine Hyder and Bosa together?
Yeah, and Sherman, they probably can't sign Sherman. Even to me, in my opinion, if he plays another year at corner, he's going to get injured and he's going to force to retire. But if he goes to safety, I think he'll have, he'll give himself a little bit more legs. But I think he takes a big risk playing corner again, in my opinion. I could be wrong. Sherman has proved a lot of doubters wrong coming off of the 2 injuries that he came off of and to play as well as he did last year. But I think he's ready to go to free safety, in my opinion. And you keep Jimmy Ward, who's already been re-signed, so we don't have to worry about him. But I think if you do lose him, Jason Verrett's been outstanding this year. He had another pick this past Sunday, so I really like the effort he's made to come back and play as well as he has, because when he's on. He is tight. His coverage ability is
he's
terrific.
Fast. He's so fast.
He's really fast. His
Considering all his leg injuries, he's still that fast?
Yeah, and his ability to read the quarterback and make jumps on balls. Just imagine if we get a pass rush, he's going to have a lot more than just 2 picks. He'll probably make a Pro Bowl if we get some complementary pass rushing pieces to help offset a quarterback throws and rhythms like that, because his ability to read that stuff is really, really good. So that combined with Emmanuel Mosley, those would be our 2 starting corners next year. I mean, there's a lot to contemplate, more questions than answers right now. But a lot of guys are going to be gone. This team's going to look a lot different next year, and we might be doing it without our defensive coordinator to top it off. So
let me ask you a question: have the last 2 weeks hurt Robert Saleh's stock, or will it not matter? At the end of the season, he is still going to be one of the most sought-after coaches.
I think the latter. He's still going to be one of the more sought-after coaches, and there's a good chance he goes, because to me, the vacancy is the 2 best places that he's going to go, because Anthony Lynn is probably out in L.A. for the Chargers, and we already know that Doug Bryan was fired in Houston. Romeo Crennel is the interim head coach over there. Those are the 2 best spots for him to take over. I know people are saying Detroit because he's from there, and a bunch of politicians advocated for him and signed on to this letter, but that is a horrible situation. You have an aging quarterback, a lifeless defense, and just a lot of work to do.
A front office that doesn't seem like they really have it together.
Yeah, and they're just not. I mean, they're decent at talent. I mean, they're pretty good at wide receivers. They got some good weapons over there on offense, not so much defensively. To me, you go to Houston, You go to Houston where you've got a young premier quarterback, or you go to LA where you've got a young, looking like a soon-to-be premier quarterback in Justin Herbert, with Austin Eckler as your running back, with the Keenan Allen as your wide receiver, with Joey Bosa on your defensive line. Just so many take that job signs coming out of there, and Houston with J.J. Watt too on that side. It just, to me, is a no-brainer. So that's, to me, where he ends up if he does go anywhere. And then probably Chris Kocurek gets promoted to defensive coordinator, if I had to guess.
Here's my crazy dream scenario that I pitched to Dad, our unofficial, Rudy Solis Jr., our unofficial fourth member of the GoldCast. I said, here's what should happen. You're going to love this, Ray. I haven't told you this yet. Robert Saleh leaves. More power to him. Hell of a showing this last couple years. This year has been his greatest coaching effort by far. He has really come a long way. He leaves. And crazy John Elway gets crazier. And he fires Vic Fangio. And then Jed York and Kyle Shanahan hire Vic Fangio, and we get Vic Fangio and Kyle Shanahan on this team together. That's the hottest take of all time.
That would be amazing.
Could you imagine Vic and Kyle on this team? Who the hell's going to beat that team? I'm telling you. That's a nasty. That's a dream. I haven't read that anywhere. Just like I would love if we somehow got our hands on Dak Prescott, having him come play as our quarterback. He's the only quarterback across the league I know that is very disgruntled and does not have a secure position with Dallas. He is definitely the other guy that I would love to grab, would be Dak Prescott, because of his mobility. But right,
yeah. And there's been I haven't heard any rumblings of, a possible Vic Fangio firing.
I haven't either. I think they're going to give him another.
And it hasn't been it has not been successful at all. It's been back-to-back losing seasons. So, but it hasn't been like, a dumpster fire in the Jets, but they only fire Greg Williams mid-season. So we'll have to see. John Elway's more of a diligent guy, meaning if he does part ways with Vic Fangio, we're not going to hear about it until the end of the season. So I don't know. To me, Vic Fangio is not cut out for the head coaching gig. He's too old. His style doesn't fit the current, head coaching demands, or I guess I'm not sure how to word it, but he just doesn't kind of fit the mold of a contemporary NFL coach in today's era. He fits the mold from like 10 years ago. If he got hired 10 years ago, I think he would have been more successful. But in today's style of NFL, he's just a little too old school.
Well, and what I was going to say right now is that I hate to say this, but we're quickly entering an era where it's more conducive if your coach is an offensive coordinator. The way they've hamstrung defenses, the old adage that defenses win championships, it's not going to really be relevant anymore. Then the NFL's kind of done that on purpose. That's by design. And I really think that really what you want in today's NFL is a high-powered, very smart offensive coordinator. You want the Brian Bieniemys of the world, because I feel like the problem with the situation with
he's probably going to get a job.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he got the Chargers job over Robert Saleh. You really want an offensive-minded coach, and I think defensive coordinators as head coaches, I think it's a really hard sell for me at this day and age. You need a guy that can run that offense, because it's an offensive league, it's an offensive-driven league, and that's really where your advantage is going to be. Because we don't live in a world where you can win a Super Bowl on a high-powered defense and not a strong offense. The rules don't allow you to do that. So. Anyways, we're getting off on a tangent here. We're kind of going on. Any final thoughts, Ray, before we jettison on out of here?
Just that I haven't thought about that Vic Fangio scenario. I mean, he was 7-9 last year, and he's in danger of succumbing to that same record, if not worse. They're regressing, in my opinion. So very well, Elway could give it up after 2 years. You know, the NFL's, you know, the joke name is not for long, and that scenario might very well be in play. Keep your eyes and ears peeled.
It's not bad, right? It's not
Empire,
it's not a bad one, right? Getting Vic Fangio in there with Kyle Shanahan to replace Robert Saleh.
That could work. And I know if he gets fired from the head coaching position, he would be open to. He would absolutely work with Kyle Shanahan.
You know he would. Raymond, also, last thing, final thing, who gets your cold shower for the day?
Without a doubt, Nick Mullins. I mean, I didn't even have to think twice about it. You give up the ball every time we had a decent drive going. It's a no-brainer to me.
Yep, same. Nick Mullins, for sure, cold shower.
And not even just a cold shower. I mean an ice shower. Ice cold. And I don't mean the complimentary version like from Top Gun, like ice cold, no mistakes. He's Iceman. No, that's not Nick Mullins. You get a cold-ass shower with some ice, man. It's ice. It's just ice cubes falling on him. In the shower.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's it. Yeah, that was my Nick Mullins impersonation for those who are listening. I was getting pelted by ice. All right, folks, who gets your cold shower? Let us know in the comments. Go to youtube.com/thegoldcast and let us know who gets your cold shower. And we'll be back later on in the week to preview our upcoming matchup against them boys, the Dallas Cowboys. A game we should win, and I'll be so effing pissed if we don't beat the Cowboys. Out of any team, we need to beat the Cowboys. When Niners-Cowboys play, Niners need to win. That's just the rules on this game. This is a team you have to get up for, and you have to beat the Cowboys. Just historically, this is a must, and I believe we might actually come back. We'll talk about that later on, Raymond. And if you want to go on to Instagram.com, at Instagram.com. Like, y'all don't know what Instagram is. Go to Instagram and check us out at The GoldCast. You can see clips and highlights from every episode that we produce weekly at The GoldCast. And so concludes another edition of The GoldCast. We are the voice of the Bay. I'm your host, Rudy Solis III, and with me is my brother, my co-host,
Raymond Solis the first, baby.
Boom! We'll see you next time. Same GoldCast time, same GoldCast channel.